For those who have watched me and followed me, whether my day ones or if today's your first day, we know how powerful the NFL is. And listen, I don't know if there's going to be a day, and there possibly could be a day. Could be. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. But for me to divorce myself from the NFL is going to be hard. I've been watching the NFL since the mid-'70s. In fact, the first football game that I watched was the AFC Championship game, 1976 season. Steelers in Oakland, where they lost. Remember, they didn't have Franco. They didn't have Rocky Bleier. They were decimated by injury. And it was about time that the Raiders finally beaten the Steelers in a big spot because they hadn't done so in the years prior. Immaculate reception, the 74 AFC Championship game, 75. Oh, no, 74 was the divisional round. 75 AFC Championship game, and the list goes on. So when I go back to that time, and even the following year, I never forget, on a Saturday, Christmas Eve, goes to the Post, where Ken Stabler to Dave Casper in Baltimore, Old Memorial Stadium. I'm not going to go through every game, people, but that's how far back I go with the NFL. To NFL Review and Preview, Harry Callis and Steve Sable, the both dearly departed. Inside the NFL, in its early days, HBO, Nick Bonacani, Len Dawson, dearly departed. Leading up through the 80s, NFL Today in the 70s, You Are Looking Live, Brent Musburger, Jimmy the Greek, dearly departed. Phyllis George, dearly departed. Irv Cross, dearly departed. That's how far back I go with the NFL. So I love it. And as we all know, just like anything in life, and I 1,000% understand that things evolve for the better, maybe even for the worse. We've seen how the NFL has been enormous here over the last, even more so. I'd say 30 plus years since the advent of direct TV Sunday Ticket and how that just became a boom mid-90s into the 2000s. I had direct TV. I had the direct TV Sunday Ticket from 2001 to 2017. And we know about Red Zone, etc. So for those out there who are going to think, Jay Reels, you shouldn't even be talking about this. Jay Reels pipe down. Jay Reels shut up. Jay Reels this, Jay Reels that, whatever. Because with everything that I just said, and you know how I feel about what has happened, and not just with the NFL, but all sports, with streaming, with trying to find these games, but the NFL even more so, because to me, the NFL has lost a lot, not a little, a lot of its charm because of the way the NFL has just blew up its own sport by having a Wednesday night season opener, a Thursday night game in Australia, your Sunday schedule, which to me, Sunday at 1 is NFL football. Not Wednesday at 8:20, not Thursday night at 8:15, not even Sunday night. And I understand Sunday night's been around since the mid-'80s, starting on ESPN. And then it went to TNT. That's right, the NFL was on TNT at one point, for those who know. So, and Monday night is Monday night, although it's not as special as it once was because of everything I talked about. But now, as we bring this up, 2 days ago, the commissioner had come out to say, by the way, from a German, I believe it was a German news station or German channel, whatever it was, when asked, does he see the NFL expanding outside of the U.S.? And he said, in that quote you see there, no doubt. Now, this could mean a lot of things. And obviously, I'm not privy to any of it. This is just speculation. This is somebody that, as a podcaster, on-air personality, whatever you want to call me, we have the right to try to decipher and digest what was said by Roger Goodell. And I can even bring up the quotes for those who didn't see what happened. And in fact, funny enough, Sophie Cunningham had something to say, which I'll get to later on. Roger Goodell, and I'm going to put up quotes here. All right, so I'm not speaking out of context or out of school or Jay Reels, where'd you come up with this, blah, blah, blah. Goodell offered his insights on NFL international growth during a recent interview with German media outlet RTL/NTV, whatever that is. Quote, at some point there will be NFL teams outside the USA. I have no doubt that this will happen one day. Now, the league's growing international profiles led to questions about whether a Super Bowl eventually will be played on foreign soil. Peter O'Reilly, the NFL's executive vice president of club business, international league events, said in May that an international Super Bowl is not a front burner issue as of now. Okay? Goodell did say that if an NFL team has a permanent location in an international city, that site could potentially serve as a Super Bowl host. There are definitely, quote, there are definitely international cities that could host something like that, but we would like to see an NFL team in such a city first. NFL voted early this year to play as many as 10 international games starting next year. I believe they're playing 8 or 9 this year. And they want to expand it to 16, as we talked about many moons ago. The league also voted to strip teams' ability to protect any home games from international play. Because remember, they have the imbalance where they flip-flop. This year, the NFC has 9 home games because you have a 17-game season, which to me is just asinine, as you know. And, as a matter of fact, the 2026 schedule features 9 international games, 8 league-run games at a London game as part of an agreement with Jacksonville. As we all know, Jacksonville plays one of their home games in London. All right, now let's unpack this. For starters, is this going to happen anytime soon? As Roger Goodell stated, I'm sure he'd like to see it. But what does this entail? Does this entail expansion? It has to be. What is the NFL looking for? Are they looking to expand to 36 teams? Are they looking to expand to even more than that? Because they can't expand one. Well, all of a sudden, Jacksonville, they're going to be now London's team and move to London permanently. They're making renovations on their stadium as we speak. So that's not part of the equation, at least I don't think. I'm sure they're going to start off with 2 teams, but you would think they're going to expand 36. Who knows? Now, I'll be fair to say that if they were going to expand outside the U.S., they're probably going to have a team in Mexico and a team in Canada. Now, my thing is, and the NFL doesn't care because, you know, they're the Shield. They could do anything in strong arm and bulldoze any plan that any other league has in mind. But there is the CFL, and I believe there is on the Toronto Argonauts there. I was talking about the CFL the other day. So let's look that up real quick. Yeah. The Toronto Argonauts are a Canadian football team, and they already started their season. And I believe it ends in November with the Grey Cup, as you know. But will the NFL have a team in Toronto? Because that would be their first foray into expanding outside of the U.S. Because obviously the proximity from those 2 cities, Toronto is an hour from Buffalo. And if they're going to have a team in Mexico City, for those, especially if they're going to play, I'm just throwing out the AFC or NFC West, it's not that bad of a flight to go from LA to Mexico City, Arizona, Mexico City. I get it. If you're in Seattle, it's a long flight. In San Francisco, but still. Now, I believe that's where they will start. I don't have any, one more time, I don't have any inkling or inside information, none of it. This is just me speculating from afar. But you know, because of these international games, they're going to want to expand and have a team in London. I would think they're going to want to have a team in Germany, maybe in Brazil. They're not going to go Australia. That's just way too far. They can't do that. They're going to have teams that are somewhat close to the continental or just to North America overall. Because if they're going to put Mexico and let's say somewhere in Canada, I'm just going to say Toronto for now, as destinations for the NFL to expand, fine. But I'm sure London, I would think Ireland, I would think the UK, just those 2 towns, London and let's say Dublin, for instance. Do they put a team in Spain? They're going to have a game in Madrid this year. I don't know about France. And this is where it gets dicey. Because if they do happen to expand overseas, is the NFL now, is that going to be the beginning of the end of the NFL? Is more NFL better for us fans? I think it's gotten out of hand, if you ask me. And we understand gambling plays a big part in it, but that's a whole other separate issue. How I see it as to when it's going to happen, I'm sure probably by the beginning of the next decade, 2030. Because if they're going to want to expand to 16 games, international games throughout the world, and by the start of the next decade, they're going to have teams in place where they're going to expand. I mean, what are we going to watch here at this point? We're going to have games starting at the crack of dawn, especially on the East Coast. Forget about even the West Coast. The NFL is going to be unrecognizable unless teams are going to relocate, and that's not going to happen. It's the NFL. These are billion-dollar entities. So even if there was a team struggling somewhere, and the only team you can say is Jacksonville, but like I said, they are refurbishing their stadium at this present moment. The Saints aren't going anywhere. The Arizona Cardinals aren't going anywhere. I mean, please, no way. So now you're talking 32 teams now. They're going to go 34, you would think, off the rip with the aforementioned team in Mexico and Canada. And then overseas, I'm sure they're going to start London first and then somewhere in Ireland second. And then who knows after that. And to me, the NFL, that could be the beginning of the end for yours truly. Could be. I'm not saying definite. I'm not saying that, oh, I'm leaving, goodbye. No. But when does it stop? I hate it. I hate the idea. I hate the thought of it. The NFL is not special anymore. And just because it evolves to try to get better, in my case, they're going backwards. I don't want to see a game on Thanksgiving Eve, 3 games on Thanksgiving itself, and then a Black Friday game. That's 5 games before you even get to Saturday. I'm going to be divorced. Come on, you think I'm going to watch 5 football games in a span of from 8:15 Wednesday night to about 6 p.m. on Friday? And by the way, that Friday is Denver at Pittsburgh. So, you know, that's, I mean, if I got to say goodbye to the first 4 games, then I'm watching Denver-Pittsburgh. Sorry. I mean, I'll follow on the phone, or if it gets good, hey, hon, you know, can I? I mean, seriously. And then, oh, by the way, could you imagine Thanksgiving weekend? Oh, by the way, now I got to follow the games on Sunday? I mean, this is when the NFL is just overboard. It's just too much. And as we all know, too much of anything is no good. I don't care what it is. And if this is going to be an issue where, not to say it's going to come down the pike tomorrow or next month or maybe even next year, but by the end of the decade, I'm sure maybe going into the offseason, the NFL is going to start thinking about, all right, where are we going to expand to? And then at that point, forget about it. I mean, what do you do at that point? The NFL is going to have a game every day of the week, you would think. I mean, come on. It's going to happen. And here's the other thing, too. And I understand all the other sports are guilty, too, with the streaming and, watch games on Netflix and watch games on Apple TV, the baseball in particular, et cetera. NBA, as I bitched about. I can't believe Jaylen Brown's first game in Boston is going to be on Prime. And not that it matters, but still, that game should be either ABC or ESPN. It shouldn't be, wait, I got to find it on Prime. Stop. Or Peacock. Ugh. And I'll get your comments after this. But the question moving forward again, when is this going to happen? Where are these teams going to be? And not only that, how soon? Because fans want to know. At least this one does. And I don't know how you guys and gals feel, but I don't like it at all, in the least. Because, and then they're going to have an 18-game season on top of that at some point. The NFL is eating itself alive. And yeah, I'm saying that. And I know that the suits Roger Goodell, of course he's not watching, but if he's watching this, he's probably laughing 1,000 times over. He's probably keeled over laughing at me. This guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. Who knows? But I got news for you. I'm sure there's a lot of people in my age demographic that feels the same way. And they don't care about any fan. Let's call it as we see it. They don't care about the fans. They want them to go spend the money on the gambling. They want them to spend money going to the games. They want them to spend money on a Sunday ticket. They want them to spend money on everything. Because the NFL is a cash cow, and that's why I call them the shield, because they're bulletproof. They could get the dings. They could get all of the bad publicity, domestic violence, the guys in the offseason. We talked about this just a couple days ago. Suspensions, PEDs, substance abuse, domestic violence, conduct detrimental to the team, conduct, the list goes infinite. But nobody cares because they still watch on Sundays or Mondays or Wednesdays or Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. It doesn't matter. And the only thing I'll say is that when the time comes, I'm going to discuss it. I bring this up now because when I saw that with Goodell, this is a receipt that you're going to have to hang on to. And that sucker is CVS loan. And if it's me killing the NFL, so be it. This is why I do what I do. The NFL doesn't care what I have to say. The NFL, like I said, Roger Goodell, all the owners, they're laughing all the way to the bank times 10. But is it really about money? Why could it just be about the product? Why could it just be about the game? Why could it just be about the fans experiencing the game without all this other nonsense? Without the gambling, without the fantasy, without anything else. And people can laugh at me. Fantasy J Reels, you're nuts. You know where I stand on that. You know. And I don't knock anybody else that does the fantasy football or gambling for that matter. Not this guy. And I got my reasons. And to me, it's unethical as a sports fan for fantasy football. Case closed. And people can laugh at that. People can whatever. But all right, then I guess you're not a diehard fan of your team because if you're a Steeler fan, I got Lamar Jackson on my fantasy team. Oh, all right, so you're going to see him twice a year. So you want him to score 1 million touchdowns and yards or whatever, but you're going to be cool with that if your team loses? Get the hell out of there with that nonsense. But anyway, that's why I stand with the NFL. And I got news for you. That day's going to come. I'm sure it's going to come sooner than we think. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. If I'm talking about this now, wait till I talk about it then.